Perfect. Right, so we're there already. So we've got 42 already in the room waiting to be with us. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the Titanic Den. I'm in my Titanic Den just for a little while. And to have a Titanic chat with the Titanic Explorer. There's a lot of Titanics in that. My name's Simon Metters. For anybody that's not new to Titanic memorabilia, I've called it Titanic memorabilia, but really it's just Simon Metters. So you're very, very welcome, and to welcome Dik Barton, who is Mr. Titanic. I'm going to call him Mr. Titanic. He may not want to take that title. I'm going to give him that title, but it's great to see you, Dik. So if you want to just tell me who you are, and then those that maybe you're not sure who you are will know.
I am, well, indeed. Simon, it's great to meet you, and thanks ever so much for inviting me on tonight. It's an interesting little venue we've got going here now, and it's the first, I think, of your forays into these kind of platforms. So well done, you. Credentials, I guess, really 22 dives on the wreck, and become a bit of an authority on not just the wreck, but also diving operations as a former commercial saturation diver back many days ago, many years ago, many kilos ago, in fact. And came on to Titanic purely by chance to a incredible meeting through a mutual friend, and met Arnie Geller and David Hill and George Tulloch, who at the time were effectively setting up the business and establishing the right of salvage and possession as the US company RMS Titanic Incorporated. I then melded into the company as director of operations, ran the operations for the thick end of 9 years, working with Ifremer, the French research company, and then latterly with the Russian operation with Anatol Skelevich off the Keldysh. And then since then stayed very much in touch with the whole company, the whole industry, and the whole community. So it's just been a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, that's some serious background. But you haven't just dealt with Titanic. So I want to delve just for a few minutes into something slightly different before we go into maybe to Titanic. I'd like to know a bit more about the Henry VIII's flag warship, the Mary Rose. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that sounds very exciting.
Well, indeed, and that was part of my evolution. So it goes back to, a young boy with fascination for basically the sea and diving and all things underwater, with Jacques Cousteau, who I'm sure you may or may not recall. Sunday afternoon, 4:00, BBC Two. That was it. That was my get-to. That was it. Just sat there, enthralled by it, and loved it. And that was the beginning of my diving fascination. And we then moved on into doing it a little bit more properly, and was privileged and totally privileged enough to be involved with the Mary Rose operation and diving that incredible flagship of the V8. Yeah, it was a bunch of volunteer divers, 600 plus from across the UK, flooded down to the Solent.
I mean, that's quite incredible. I mean, that was 1982, that was, apparently.
Well, the first diving was very first started in 1965.
Oh, right, okay.
When she was effectively discovered, and then volunteer divers came along, because it's impossible to fund that type of operation. And Margaret Rule, of course, was a great spearhead in that whole process. And then after that, it's just a tidal wave of very, very interested, dedicated divers who had some experience, some didn't. But we learned a lot on the job for sure. Dived my first Kirby Morgan helmet system then, which was an incredible experience. And then right through when she was lifted to Raids in 1982, and that was a joint operation with the Royal Engineers. I wasn't part of that. I'd moved on since then.
That is just amazing. So you mentioned about saturation diving. So what does that mean? What does that actually involve? Because that sounds as well.
Yeah, I think that the prerequisite in this case, really, Simon, is the fact you must be clinically insane or have no regard for self-preservation.
I think you've been doing that all your life, haven't you? By the sounds of it.
Pretty much, in various guises. But yeah, so you work underwater with a mixed gas environment, topside fed or some kind of hose system, working out of a bell, down to 500-600 feet and more sometimes. And it's a three-man bell, so you have a bellman and two divers, and you basically in and out, living in the bell for the best of part of 3 to 5 days, in the saturation mix. Then you come back topside into the pot, the chamber as we call it, for further 10 days to detox and decompress, and then we then fly back ashore or go whichever way we came back out. So it's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. It's particularly hazardous. It's incredibly well regulated with some absolute total professionals. And we work across industry, of course, oil and gas right through to wreck exploration to, heavy lift systems.
That is quite phenomenal. I mean, I've been looking up. I had a little look up to see what there was, and I've run out of paper actually. What I was because it says about you having a military career. So, can you expand on that? Are you allowed to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, it was a natural evolution again. Effectively, saturation diving came to a natural conclusion. Oil and gas industry sort of closed up. Divers were getting more expensive. Divers were not surviving, and technology was improving. So ROVs were brought, of course. So they worked 24/7. And then the natural segue for me was into the military. The obvious quest would have been to go into the Navy, but I chose the Army, which rationalize that if you can. And fast forward 14 years in the military with an amazing career, very exciting time. And then back into oil and gas through the health and safety and heavy lifting world of advisory guidance and subsea installation, subsea construction work.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a history. I think that's quite a There's a book there somewhere. I think that's probably your next. I think you should be getting on with that.
I am. Yeah, I've started it. It's not coloured in yet, but I'm working.
I'll lend you some pens. So you've done parachuting.
Yeah, so I'm a massive skydiver. I still enjoy parachuting. Always been a great parachuting sort of fanatic again. I just love the whole sport. It's a great sport, great fun. And done a fair bit of absurd life-threatening pursuits in various ways.
I think that is you all over by the looks of it. I think that's why you've done what you've done.
Yeah.
Because you've been willing to just go that step further, which seems a lot of us are not willing to make that step, but you've just gone over the curb and done it. So you say you've done. So we're going to go down to Titanic now. So this is the bit you get asked all the time, and I'm not going to ask you that question yet because you know what's coming. So you've done 22 dives. So was the 22nd dive as exciting as the first dive, or did it become,
It's a great question, Simon, because to be honest, they're over a period of time, of course, in a series of expeditions. Some expeditions we would not dive as much as would the previous one because the mandate of the company was really to do what we call research and recovery. So if you think about the first dives back in TVLP days, ORE, Ocean Research Exploration, in 81, 82, 83, and then in 87 with George Tulloch and crew. The earliest dives were very much focused on just getting down to the wreck site, picking up artifacts, coming back up again. There was very little cataloguing of the debris field, the wreck itself. And so under our mandate as basically the appointed custodians of the wreck and all things related, we took it very seriously to start looking at mapping the wreck site. And don't forget also, this is in the 90s, so technology wasn't, the best. We didn't have the cutting edge Google searches and satellite communication systems and digitization that we have today. So, right, I remember working with the Russians, and their navigation system on the seabed was operating on Windows 3.1.
Oh, don't we remember 3.1?
If you remember that, the floppy disks. But on the diving side, it became it morphed, to be honest, because no one apart from the first one is truly memorable. Because I was fortunate enough never to actually have any real incidents. Although we did have one time that we were trapped into the stern section. But
yeah, I did have.
yeah, yeah.
So
But
what was that like at that moment? What was that like? Because obviously you've not had anything like that before. Is it the thought this could be it? This could be I'm never getting out of here, or did it? Or because you're so in what you're doing that part of it doesn't really come into it. You're just dealing with what you're dealing with, and that's it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You're very much in the moment,
Yeah.
because you pre-flight checks, you get in, you close the lid, the dogs get pushed across, and that's it. And then you're into mode effectively. This particular dive, it was PH and George Tulloch, and the idea was we wanted to try and do some exploration in the stern section, which had never really been done before. And I have a personal fascination with the stern as well. I think it's just the most extraordinary piece. Very, very undiscovered and unresearched, and really very ugly, but very, very attractive in many ways. So what we're trying to do effectively was get as close as we could in towards the stern section so we could fly in the Robin, which flies on an 85-meter tether. And obviously wanted more tether inside the wreck than we would outside, so we can get more penetration. And effectively, we just got too close and got pushed in by a rogue tide. And the currents down there are pretty tricky, and they snake around the back end of the stern section particularly badly. And that was it.
I have to admit, I don't even really thought about currents, to be honest. You almost think that it's just dead down there, completely with nothing particularly, just because it's so far down, you don't think of it as anything really.
Well, yeah, seasonally the operations are around June, July, August time when the Labrador current's gone, the Gulf current comes in, so it's warmer waters.
Okay.
But the west boundary currents, which are the main issues, as they snake down off the peninsula of the Grand Banks, and they're responsible for carving these huge, great big canyons on the seabed. And great big valleys, a lot of glacial activity, so almost sort of avalanche type activity down there, causing these huge geological formations. And with that comes local tides and currents.
So, in some senses, it's amazing that the Titanic landed where it did. Could it have easily landed in a, in a cavity, if you like, just disappeared into something?
Yeah. You're 100% correct. I mean, she sits in what we call Titanic Canyon, a very inspired marketing name, of course. But if you go just a few miles to the southeast of that, then the water drops off yet again, and we get down to further. So we're in 3,842 meters. If you go across to the right side, the south or southeast side, you're at a plus 1,500 meters of water, and probably if she's down there, never been found.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? I think there's so many coincidences, so many things that go on to allow us to find that. So I'm going to ask you the question now. When you went down the first time, what was it like to see her first of all?
It's let's sort of set the scene. You've transited through this amazing water column, this amazing light show, which effectively is like the Northern Lights underwater. It's incredible. Then all of a sudden it's pitch black at 150, 200 meters, and you're in transit. We're mapping the depth. We're looking at obviously our descent rate, which is a meter a second, by the way. We weigh 18 tons, so we're tracking down at a fair rate in a right-hand spin. And around about 50 meters, we start to flare out, control the actual descent, and go into the horizontal. And then we have to work out exactly where we are, because this water column of 2.5 miles is also full of currents and different densities of water, salt water, seawater, and so on. So once we've worked out exactly where we are in relation to where we want to be, which isn't always the wreck, we could be looking at other places in the debris field. I had the money shot. We came down, the lights came on, we looked out the portholes, looked out the cameras, and there was the iconic bow set.
Wow.
It's just, you couldn't make it up. Absolutely. And it does, it takes you, you have to respect where you are and what you're looking at, because she's the most extraordinary wreck in the world, probably. But the main thing I think to appreciate is just the sheer majestic way that bow, of course, has been epitomized 100,000 times now
Yes,
since,
yes.
with Cameron and the movie, etc. But it never ever goes away, and it was the most extraordinary privilege in every way to see that picture. Even as a hard and roughy, toughy saturation diver,
Yes.
it's emotional.
Yeah. So who would you go down with at that time? Can you remember who you were with?
Crikey. I can't remember. I think Eve was one pilot, and I can't remember who the other person was. I don't recall. I've got it written down. It's just long.
Yes. So we move on a little further now, and it comes to the stage where you recovered the wheel. So can you explain a little bit more about how that come about? What was your, obviously you've had to collect this. It's not just.
Yeah, it was. It was the 2000 dive, which was a very, very exciting expedition for a number of reasons, both topside and also down the seabed. And the the intention was to recover as many good artifacts as possible, because the last series of dives hadn't recovered a great deal of exciting new pieces.
Right.
And it was quite a long dive as well, a long expedition. So this particular one, I think it was Rory Golden saw the actual wheel lying on the seabed and picked it up, and that came to surface, and that was just an incredible, $1 million find. Of course, the association with yourself, and I was privileged enough to be quite literally the first man almost to stand there and hold the boss,
Yes.
the wheel, since your predecessor,
Yeah.
the Master Hitchens, stood there wrestling with the wheel against
I know.
ice. It was very, very, again, sobering and privileged.
I mean, that does link us quite a lot. It definitely links us in a big way. It's sort of something that one day it would be great to be together at the wheel at some point. That would be another big milestone as well.
That'd be amazing. Wouldn't that be absolutely incredible? How privileged that would be.
Yeah, it would be a wonderful thing to do. So you've collected this, and that's now on display in Las Vegas, the sea centre of all things Titanic.
Yeah.
So you've been recently to see that as well, have you? Or
yeah, I was in the States just a few weeks ago. We went out to see the big piece, of course, and in that same exhibition is the wheel. So it was a wonderful experience. Nice to be reunited with the collection again.
Yes.
But sadly, it's all sat in the Luxor Hotel, and we really need to get it out of there. We need to get this.
Yeah, I think. What are your thoughts about going back to collect more things from Titanic debris field? What's your, have you got any thoughts of how that's in the future? What might be there, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, without going down the rabbit hole of legal complexities and entitlements, which is a bit of a tricky one, I think we haven't recovered 95% of what's down there. And personally, I really want to go back. We've got to go back. Somebody has to go back, because Dr. Roy Collymore did the last real assessment with NIST previously, and Dr. Tim Fakey, when they're doing the assessments on the degradation of the actual bow predominantly.
Yes.
And the look ahead really is 50 years before all those decks cascade down through their own weight, accumulative, down to the tank deck, all up deck. The rivets will start to pop out, the shell plates will just fall off. You'll be left with all this just exposed ribs, and effectively anything that's inside lost forever. I mean, we're seeing now, look at the port railing has detached already. And I know that the port railing was designed to be removed to deploy and get the emergency anchor off. So it wasn't probably the most solid of structures, but nonetheless, it's indicative of what's happening.
So would you think it would be good to have some kind of a museum with more things in it, specifically Titanic related, so it's not in a casino or in a whatever, that it's actually it has its own place that connected with maybe relatives and all those that have been involved, sort of get that type of thing. It would be amazing.
Well, you touched on something very interesting there, Simon. The general groundswell and support amongst the descendants, relatives, community is extremely strong. Very pro returning, and also having some kind of consolidated exhibition, museum, call it what you will. I was in the Queen Mary recently as well, and what a wonderful aspiration it would be to try and put a Titanic exhibition on board her.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think something something between like a collaboration, if you like, of relatives, explorers, if you like, salvage, everything that could be all tied up together in a bundle, because I think that's something that would be just, I think it would catch everybody's imagination if you've got relatives and the whole thing's connected together.
Absolutely.
You know, just have it all like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a very strong commitment amongst the relatives, and you know, there's a good community spirit, and also a great passionate conglomerate, if you like, to make that happen. But what we need to do is join that all up together.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, work together for that. If someone's put the Southampton exhibition is so poignant, and I think a lot of these are. Southampton's a good place. Belfast is another place. Liverpool's museum is shut, which is a bit of a downer, that, because I was hoping to come up to that and then looked it up and it's shut. So that wasn't very good. But that's going to be a few years before that's opened again. Yeah,
there's some wonderful, very poignant and very appropriate venues around the UK. I mean,
yes,
you know, she was built here, I mean, obviously Northern Ireland, but it'd be lovely to bring it all home. I really totally agree.
Yeah.
But it's an emotive subject as well, my lord.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is very. Yeah, there's a lot of differences of thought, and but you can't please everybody all the time.
So, no, but you have to make it also. This is where indulgence and excitement and aspiration tempers with the commercial reality. It's not cheap, and it has to be able to sustain itself and more.
Yeah, I mean, someone's put on there, who owns the artifacts?
Yeah, so again, this we're down the legal rabbit hole here again. Yeah. So RMST Incorporated de facto are the appointed right of salvage possession, but along with EM Group, Media Group, there's also another tier of ownership there. So it's one that the courts are going to have to address at some stage.
There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There is.
Would you like to go back?
100%.
Yeah.
And if I was asked, would I dive again? Probably 2 months ago, I'd have said categorically not. Way too fat and old for that. They're ridiculous.
Right.
But reality is, absolutely. And why wouldn't you? I mean, yeah, I would love to. The aspiration is to conduct something, to go back, both a manned dive and also with world-class ROVs. But it's a lot of work in progress.
Yeah, so I'm going to butt in here just slightly. When it comes to going down in a manned vehicle, obviously the big issue with the Titan, but I think we can put that to the side, because I think that was something on its own compared to the previous dives, which were all done safely and conducted safely.
Yeah.
So
Titan was the exception, wasn't the norm. Without doubt. It's a very fair statement, as tragic as it was.
Yeah.
But the technology now that exists, I mean, Titan was 3 years ago already, just a few days.
Right, just frightening.
18th madness, 18 July.
Yeah.
June, sorry. But it's incredible how it flies. But the submersible Trident submersibles now based in Florida. Tom Leahy They're superb, cutting edge, manned
Mm.
submersibles with the capability of getting to that depth. So the technology exists out there. Of course, the conventional government entities, they will always have that ability, but they're not guns for hire. They're not available for contracting.
Yeah.
Woods Hole Institute and Japanese, the Canadians, and the US military. But as a commercial venture, there are opportunities.
Mm.
And they're looming now.
And with a far safer record, far more stringent safety procedures to go through.
Well, legislation will always dictate and mandate the industry.
Yeah.
Titan incident gave the industry a hit, but because the industry is so well regulated and compliant in every single way, the legislative aspects were resilient enough to be able to withstand that challenge.
Yes.
And there's always lessons learned, of course there is, but I think it's not a Sunday afternoon outing.
No. No.
Apart from the risks, the costs are significant, and
Yes.
and they're done by industry professionals.
Yeah, it's not like you can just go and hire something and do it. It has to be done in a big way because it's an expensive thing. It's not. I mean, you've got to get there in the first place.
Yeah, our expeditions with RMS Titanic Incorporated, they were anything from $12 to $18 million.
Yeah.
And that's just, as you say, that's just to get out there.
Yeah.
Then you have the operating costs of bringing it all back, conservation, and the insurances, and it's a very, very expensive process.
Yes. So I'm going to come down to the big piece. So that was recovered. Was that something you were involved with?
Yeah, and actually, initially right from the beginning. So we first saw the big piece in '93, identified it as a target.
Yes.
And then measured it in '94, worked out its size, dimension, its weights, and we rigged it in '96 and picked it up. And subsequently, it was dropped. Sadly,
yes.
There was an issue with oncoming bad storms and also a bit of rigging, perhaps. And then the boys picked it up in '98, and then that started another routine, of course, of having to not only take and receive it, but also conserve it. Because initially, when it came up, it was 18 tons, and then the 3.5 ton piece, the tap, as you know, so hence have a little and a big piece, very creative marketing. And so a little piece sits in Orlando and the big piece in Luxor. But the biggest challenge with both of those, mainly the big piece, was the conservation.
Yes.
Because as it got taken around from venue to venue in the US and into different climatic environments and circumstance, it was delaminating.
Okay.
And huge, great amounts were just literally peeling off it. It was a great shame. Luckily, a lot of those were captured, collected, and now being made available for sale for people as the coal is.
Yes.
But the future wasn't great. The more it was being carried around. So the executive decision was made, basically, we just have to stop doing so. And that's why it ended up in Luxor.
I have to admit, I didn't realise it was sort of driven around as a sort of an exhibition piece.
Yeah.
That's probably why I've got a bit of the big piece in there.
There you go. There you go. And I'm delighted that could be done because it enables everyone to have that connection.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not huge, but it's just something.
It's still
in a bit of bollard as well. It is a piece of history. So I'd like to explain now. I'm going to take mine out of its box because you haven't even got yours in a box. So I'd like you to explain these things because I'm quite actually, to me, this is quite interesting because mine is
well prepared earlier.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the same dive that the wheel was picked up.
Yes.
So that's quite a good connection for me.
That's nice. Yeah.
I don't think I thought about it really till just then, to be quite honest. So explain to me what this is, because obviously some people might just think it's a thimble.
Yeah. So I think you've got there the original cup. I think, Simon, in the box, the bigger
Yeah,
one.
I have. I've got one here.
Yeah. So what these are polystyrene 16-ounce coffee cups. Just and because they're polystyrene, they're full of air. And the beauty of them is that they're great pieces to symbolize the pressure we're operating at. So what we'd do is we'd take a coffee cup, everyone would write on it, put their own particular slant on it, and then we'd stuff them full of tissue paper. Put
Okay.
them into a big. The purpose of tissue paper was to give them a form. So when they actually
Oh,
were,
end up just
yeah,
like it's
they didn't,
crushed. Okay, I never thought
they
that.
didn't flam. Yeah.
Okay.
So they were packed with tissue paper, obviously got very wet, but they were then put into a net bag of 10, 20, 30, depending how big the bag was. And they were secured, not just thrown in, but it's very much secured under the outer housing of the submersible. So they weren't in a pressure protected area. They were subjected to the local pressures as a
Mm.
seabed. So going down 2.5 miles, 3,850 meters, and 6,500 pounds a square inch. The air is squished out of the actual polystyrene, and as you can see, yours and they end up rock hard like a
Yeah,
thimble. So
yeah.
there's a grand latte down to double espresso pretty quickly. But they're great souvenirs and
They
really
are.
lovely things to have. Yeah,
They are. Yeah, I was very thankful that there was a certain individual that gave me one of these.
my pleasure.
But it's I mean, some of these things are very simple, but they're very precious.
Well,
Uh,
they,
and a lot of people have things. I mean, I've got lots of things that are very. You could almost call them trinkety if you like, but they're just things that you enjoy, and I think that's the whole point, isn't it? Because there are people who are serious collectors, and I understand that, and they won't have anything unless it's maybe one or two things, but very expensive, but very nice.
yeah.
And I do get that. I do get that. But there are other people who just maybe like to collect the smaller things. Um,
We'd all love to own a deck chair and a life jacket, of course we would.
yes,
But they're
you
unaffordable.
do. I know you do children's talks as well because I've seen you
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
So for me, I do those as well. But it's you will take maybe replicas or things from the era. Probably is more what I would do. So
Yeah.
it'll be a brownie too. It'll be bits and pieces that would be of the era, but not from Titanic or from somebody who owned anything. It's
Yeah. But even nice pieces, from Grayling Dock, the actual mounting blocks for the Titanic. You
yes,
can get little pieces of that and
yes,
a rivet, a piece of rivet, and so on.
yes,
And I think it's wonderful that all of these things, by association, are in the public domain.
mm,
And this was one of my personal um, things, I guess, about the reason I give talks, which I do. I work with White Star Heritage, who are
yeah. Of course,
very good
yeah, yeah.
UK, we'll call it separate, but very
No,
good
carry
UK.
on. No, carry on. That was
Yeah.
my next question. Yeah,
But the privilege to be able to engage with people who have interest in diving, the Titanic history, whatever their motivation is, their interest, and I have the absolute privilege to share my experiences with people who are interested.
yes,
Mm. There's only three of me in the world now, for example,
yes.
with dive. So I'm not quite sure it's a good or bad thing, but
Getting rarer. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm not quite sure the mantle Mr. Titanic is one I want to really wear. 'Cause didn't have a good ending.
I know.
But all joking apart, it's just that real opportunity to be able to share with people the
Yes,
experiences and not what you read in the books or see on the movies or
yeah,
the documentaries.
yeah. And I think that's right. I think it can bring things to life and mean something rather than, as you say, looking in a book or whatever. If you can talk to someone like yourself who's got that knowledge, got the experience, I think that's important. And there's lots of people have come on, and lots of people have waved, and lots of people have, and it's been great to see all these people coming on. Somebody did mention a bit earlier about the aquatic or the what's down there by Titanic. What fish, what's you know, what's down there, you know.
The ecology is, so again, one of the mandates of the company was not only to research the wreck site and document it and the denudation reports of the actual wreck, but also give ecology reports of the local sea life and the pelagic life down there. So just to paint the scene, it's 0 to -1, -2 degrees, zero light, zero oxygen, and things coexist. And the microbial activity is the microbes that are eating away at the steel and the iron of the actual wreck itself, producing these rusticles, as we've seen, but incredibly aggressive. And other pelagic life sit on the seabed, ferns, corals, and other anemone type things. And so when Titanic arrived, like Deliveroo, happy days, you know, now there's something to have a go at.
The Metwick can desire.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's incredibly busy down there. The ragtail fish, you see those floating around. They're 2 meters long. These things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not barren.
But we have to be thankful there are certain things that things don't damage. So we have leather, which I suppose because there's been suitcases that are made of leather, the internals of those suitcases have survived.
Yeah.
Wallets, things like that because they're leather have kept whatever's inside it safe.
I think what's extraordinary about the artifact collection is, as you rightly say, everything from steel, every kind of metal through to textiles, leathers, and paper, of course. But everything's held in a very suspended state of animation down there. There's current, but it's for the most part it sort of ebbs over the thing. You know, for example, the Diana Versailles.
Yes.
She was seen in 87.
Yes.
Never seen since. The industry were accused of stealing her. And then 2024 Magellan expedition, they found her.
Yeah.
But interesting, when you look at the actual orientation of her lying in the seabed, she lies initially when she's first seen on her left shoulder and partially buried. In the Magellan imagery, she's actually quite exposed and rolled almost onto her back.
Yes. So, which you could almost think that things would just disappear with current. You know, they could just be buried and that's it. But we're very thankful that we're able to see these things. You know, they're still there, still visible.
Yeah, and I think also it's appropriate to give the conservation professionals an incredible shout out because the work they do is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I think I was watching something recently, and they're watching the Cherub. You know, the things they had to do to it, just to make sure that things don't just disintegrate. You know.
Yeah, and she sat in electrolysis for 18 months.
Was it 18 months? Wow.
With LP3, the Stephen Pennican crew. Yeah. Just slowly but surely have the lowest voltage electric current that's being passed through it, which effectively vibrates the artifact very, very gently.
Yes.
Then dislodges the detritus. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to shoot forward now because I don't want to keep you on too long. So I'm going to shoot forward right now to now. So what are you doing now? What's your sort of life?
So yeah, well, thank you for that, Sam. So basically, we're developing the brand of Titanic Explorer, working on a national talking schedule, and also working with the Queen Mary to go and do some talks out there at the end of the year. Also working very closely in supporting White Star Heritage, who are probably the UK's best and biggest Titanic exhibition. So currently at the NEC, we'll be at the NEC for just about another, few weeks. And then we move the expedition down to Olympia, and that starts in Olympia 25th of July through to late August.
Yeah, that one looks exciting to me.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be there on the 31st and the 1st of August, which are Friday and Saturday, mainly for book signing, but it's gives me an opportunity to see everything and enjoy it again.
No, it'd be fantastic to see you. It'd be great. Yeah. I'll be giving presentations, talks twice a day throughout the entire period as well. It's called Meet the Expert, so that people can buy a ticket and come along to that. And
to be honest, I did a sneaky one and got in and watched you for one of them. and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I really do recommend, if you're going to go, to put that in as well, because it just finishes the whole thing off, to be able to look at the artifacts, read the stories, and then hear from somebody who's actually been there. So I would recommend that anybody that's going to London or to any of the others, and in the future, because I think this isn't just a one-off now, is it? This is rolling.
No. Tom Rudham and the team have got some very ambitious plans for national tours throughout into next year and beyond.
Yeah, that should be good. I'm hoping I can get involved a bit more of that if I can get my hands in there. But yeah, no. So I'll leave it at that, so it's not too long for you, Dick, because I appreciate you've given your time up for this.
My pleasure.
Is there anything else that you want to say while you're here? So, because you've given us so much information.
No, it's a pleasure to meet you, Simon, and thank you for your initiative. It's great. Follow us, Titanic Explorer, Dik Barton. It's now a brand, as I say. We're now very keen to start pushing it. We're now looking at doing some merchandising opportunities, of course, but more importantly, it's just sharing with people who are in the Titanic community and supporting exhibitions, and I'll hopefully be announcing our UK tour in the not too distant future, which will be venues around the country.
Yeah, that sounds very, very exciting. So I would say I will put a link in once this video's stopped. It will go onto my hard drive somewhere. I'll try and find it, and then I'll post that a bit later and link yourself in Dick, so it's in there. And then everybody just keep following, and I'll keep collaborating and keep pushing stuff as well. So they'll get bored of me in the end, but we'll keep going.
No, you've got a great story, and again, your book. I think you need to make notes of that. 365, and it's a wonderful story, wonderful book.
Someone said, "Will you be back in the US at any time?" That's the last one I'm going to get to read out there.
Yes, I will. Back at the end of probably October time. Yeah.
Okay. Bruce is. It's not Bruce. I'll get it right. It's his relative there, Cliff.
Cliff.
Yeah, I'm glad he's just dropped in there, but very interesting. Thanks very much for popping in there, Cliff. So I hope to see you soon at some time as well.
Well, Cliff and I'll be going down to the White Star Line Hotel in Liverpool soon.
Nice.
Give some talks as well with Jonathan Wild, who's the in-house curator.
Nice.
So there's a lot happening. It's exciting times.
There are. I'll have to keep more in the loop, I think. But no, I'm gonna say goodbye at that point. So I think I really appreciate you being here, and we'll do it again sometime. So it won't be a forever thing. We'll pop along and have another time again together and just have another little chat and see how things are going and what you're doing up to.
My pleasure. Thanks, Simon, for the opportunity. You take care.
Right, so everybody, thank you very much for coming. It's been great to have you all here, and look forward to the next Titanic Chat and who I've got lined up. But we're thankful to have Dick. Thanks very much for coming, Dick. You take care. Bye-bye.
All the very best. Thank you. Cheers.